Hey, welcome to 关键30. I'm so happy that you decided to tune in today. My name is Pastor Peter, 万利豪牧师, and I do hope the next few minutes is going to help you. I do hope this program is going to inspire you, give you some wisdom on what you're supposed to do in life, and help inspire you, give you hope for the future. So I'm so happy that you have tuned in today. A few years ago, a few friends of mine and we decided to go camping. And the place that we were going camping is on top of this mountain. So we drove my friend's car and we're supposed to head up to the mountain. Now we kind of got there a little bit late. It was getting dark. There was no street light, so it was pitch black, right? The only light was coming from the car. And it was raining that night too. And as we're driving up the mountain, we realized that we didn't have cell phone reception. And without cell phone reception, we couldn't really use our Google Map either. And so we didn't really know where we're supposed to go. We only had a hunch. We think we're supposed to go that way. So that's where we drove. So we started driving up this mountain. But as we drove up the mountain, the road got narrower and narrower, and it was looking dangerous. At one point, our car was right off the cliff. Like one false move, our car would have fallen off the cliff. And we're so dangerous, we were so afraid. I actually said to the guys in the car, I said, hey guys, we should unbuckle our seatbelts, right? Just in case the car goes off the cliff, at least we can jump off the car and we'll be safe. Now, I'm not sure if that was the best advice or not, but I did see this in the action movie one time. But by the time we got up to the mountain, it was, again, pitch black, middle of nowhere. There was this old gentleman standing there, and I can't make this up. He had a bag of toads. He's holding on to a bag of toads. And we approached him and said, hey, we're trying to get to this campsite and we can't get there. We're a little bit lost. Can you tell us how to get there? Now he looked at us like we're crazy. He says, what are you guys doing here? You're not supposed to be up here. This isn't your car. That car that you're driving shouldn't be up here. This is too dangerous. He says, the place that you're trying to get to, you're supposed to go that way. So he gave us very careful instructions on how to get to the campsite that we wanted to get to. He says, when you drive down the mountain, when you see this place, make a right. When you see that place, make a left. That's where you're going to get to, what you want to get to. Now, this whole experience actually taught me a very valuable lesson. You see, a hunch is not a very good guide to get to what you want to get to in life. Sometimes we have a hunch of what we want to get to, but only when you pay careful instructions and pay careful thoughts to what you're heading, will you actually end up where you want to be. And this is why. In Proverbs chapter 14, verse 8, it says, the wisdom of the prudent, of the wise, is to give careful thoughts to their ways. But the folly of fools is deception. What does that mean? It means wise people, they pay attention to their ways and their paths. They pay attention to where they're going. You see, at every wedding, two people will stand before their friends and family. And in the case of a Christian wedding, they will stand before God. And they will make promises to each other. And these promises, they are sincere and they mean well. But the truth is this, many of them, they will eventually break the promises they make that day. Why? Because a promise by itself has no power. Just because you say, I do, in front of your friends, in front of your loved ones, in front of your family, just because you say, I do, it does not make you capable of doing it. Only when you give careful thoughts to what you have signed up for, careful thoughts to your path, can you actually keep most promises. See, when you make those promises, it doesn't automatically give you the power to fulfill the promise. A promise does not make you capable. It only makes you accountable. Again, a promise does not make you capable of fulfilling the promise. It only makes you accountable to what you have promised. And what so many people miss is this. A promise, though as good as it can be, as good as your speech can be on that day, a promise can never be a substitute for preparation. And this is why preparation is important. And you know this to be true in every other areas of life. Now imagine this. Imagine you are going to have an open heart surgery. Your life is going to depend on it. And you have two people you can choose from to operate on you for this life-threatening operation. Now, one is a doctor who spent many years preparing at medical school. And he tells you this. He says, hey, I can't promise anything because anything can happen, but I have spent years preparing and training myself for this. So I think it would be okay. Versus the second person who comes to you who did not go to medical school, but for 10 years of his life, he worked as a butcher, all right? And he says to you, hey, it can't be that different, right? I mean, I've been a butcher for 10 years. It can't be that different. I promise it's going to be okay. Now, given these two options, who would you choose to operate on you? I know what I would choose. I would choose the guy who spent years preparing for this moment, even though he says, I don't know how much I can promise. You see, preparation is more important than the promise. But somehow when it comes to marriage, we throw all that wisdom and we throw all that common sense out the window. We get to the day of our wedding, and without giving careful thought to the path that we have been taking, the steps that we have been taking, we simply make promises that our life has not shown we can back it up. And so friends, if you are single right now, which I believe many of you are, if you're single, you must do this. You must prepare yourself to become the person who can keep the promise when you make it to your future wife or your future husband. You have to take those steps now, because just because you promise a few years from now doesn't mean you can do it. You have to take those steps. So when you say on your wedding day, I will take you and love you and cherish you and never forsake you and be faithful to you, you can keep that promise. See, a wise person is diligent and prepares and gives careful thoughts to where their lives are at and where they are heading. But a foolish person is deceived and thinks, wow, I'll just magically end up at the right place. Don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. Because a foolish person says, I can eat whatever I want and I will just magically have a great body. That's foolish, that's garbage, that's nonsense. But you're smarter than that. You understand that Proverbs 14:15 says, the simple will believe anything, but the prudent, the wise, a person like you will give careful thoughts to their steps. So what are the things that you have to give careful thought to when you are single? First, decide right now, decide what kind of man or what kind of woman do you want to be. Not just the kind of man and woman you want to marry, but the kind of man and woman you want to be. Who do you want to be? What are your values? You have to write them down, talk about them with your friends, talk about them with your pastors, with your leaders, talk about them with your mom and dad. Talk about them. Talk about the man and the woman you would like to be. Make a decision on who you want to be. Number two, make sure you take the proper steps and path when it comes to your boundaries with the opposite sex. Because if you don't know how to keep those boundaries right now when you're single, you're not going to know how to keep those when you're married. So pay attention to these things. And finally, I want to just encourage you to surrender yourself with people who are a bit ahead of you, people who are role models. So for example, if you're single right now, find people who are married. If you're a guy, find a husband who's happily married, faithful to his wife. If you're a woman, find a wife who's happily married and loves her husband. Find these people. Walk with these people. Because when you walk with these people, you're going to be walking on the right path. And only when you walk on the right path will you actually end up where you want to be. To all of you who are single, I believe the best is yet to come. You're going to have a great marriage one day. But you have to pay attention to these small little steps that you're taking right now. You are doing a great job. If you're a Christian, you're doing a great job. You're following Jesus, you're loving Jesus. Keep doing that. If you're not yet a Christian, hey, find a Christian friend. Ask him or her about this person called Jesus. Give God a chance. Go to a church. Try it out. All right? God bless you. The best is yet to come. We'll see you next time at 关键3事